Who want a ticket straight to them pearly gates?
By the time you see this video, Clive will be finally available to everyone. But a lot of people's reaction to the character, this is known. Everyone hated the character. They tried it and they loved it. This meme does a good job of summarizing the whole entire player's reaction. 359,000 matches, I believe that is, has been played with this guy. And he's also has the highest win rate since the update. He has a 57%. The character right next to him, Panda, which is usually number one, has a 52%. So a lot of people are playing this guy, a lot of people are winning, a lot of people are having fun. So you would think that this update is basically flawless, but I feel like what's also common with Tekken 8 is that there's always one thing about the update that kind of brings everything down. With Heihachi, it was the $5 DLC. It seems like the developers haven't really had a flawless update in quite some time. And this issue has a lot of people talking. It's about the topic of plugging. Now, plugging is a thing that existed for a very long time. Like, this is the most upvoted clip of Tekken 7 regarding plugging, and it's a King main who tries to rolling death cradle a Xiaoyu main, and the Xiaoyu player basically breaks the rolling death cradle. As you can see here, the rolling death cradle is happening. They break the rolling death cradle, and then they win the round, and they basically tie it up. And it's a good match, right? They go back and forth. It's not an immediate blowout. It's a great comeback. But the King main that they plug, right? So right here, you're going to see them plug. Boom, it freezes, plug. Now, this was a big problem in Tekken 7. And I think what made this problem even worse is when the developers reset the ranks. Me personally, I never wanted to learn how to plug because I just felt like it would be too tempting. But I think the way you do it is that you just reset your game or something like that. But this was a problem that a lot of people really started to take advantage of when the developers set back the ranks, like 5 ranks. But then when they also added Tekken God Omega, and a lot of people were trying to get that as fast as possible. And I believe the first person to get it on the planet was a cheater Paul Phoenix player who was plugging and also using a lot of other hacks to do it, right? Bro got it within a few hours. So that was something that definitely destroyed Tekken 7. And going into Tekken 8, with plugging being such a big problem, we wondered how the developers would tackle it. And this is a clip from 8 months ago. This was a very viral clip of FDX going up against a plugger. And this is just like the first thing that was like, wow, they did not address this problem. It's a problem that was like destroying the game, is once again doing it. And it was not something that, Tekken needed. I'll let this clip play from FDX. Look at the realization.
No!
Now, after clips like that started to go super viral, the player base had enough and they started to demand, and I mean demand, that the devs basically enact a feature that docks the person who plugs, who leaves the match, points. And you have this viral meme that was made, and this is kind of in capturing it. When Street Fighter 6 and Mortal Kombat 1, two people fight each other, but one of them quits before the game is over. The person who lost gets a loss. The person who didn't leave gets the win. Now, this is what the players wanted the developers to do, and instead of just going the obvious route like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, the developers at the time gave us a bunch of different quotes as basically why it can't happen. The first one says, there's a bug in the display of disconnection rates. Another one says, in every game, there's always players who will file a lawsuit if you report a ban. Another one says, when you use the hashtag Tekken8 report, please include the player's name and region information so we can ban them smoothly. But this final part here that Michael Murray's talking about is kind of what we're experiencing now, where Michael Murray said at the time that he's been timed out in games for doing nothing at all. Tekken 8 players are now experiencing the negative side effects of this plug update when they're not actually plugging. In the patch notes, it says, disconnecting during a match will result in rank point reduction. Now, the words you have to highlight there is disconnected, disconnecting, disconnect. This is any kind of disconnect. I always said, if this point reduction thing happens for pluggers, there's a lot of people who's also going to get clapped up for having bad connections, bad Wi-Fi, PC issues. Now, in my opinion, I do think if your Wi-Fi or internet is acting up in a ranked environment, that's kind of on you. Like you can't have a bad internet connection and then go into ranked, and then that internet connection destroys that ranked match and you don't face any consequences, right? Like if you go play any other competitive game, they will probably treat you the same if your connection goes out, your power goes out, right? That's why you either go into ranked with a stable connection or don't play ranked. So that side of it, I kind of always felt that way. But when you talk about the PC issues and just the random crashing that's going on, this is when I shift the blame to Tekken 8. Tekken 8 has a lot of issues that PC players has been very vocal about. Like there's been so many PC players in my DMs saying like, "Hey, can you talk about this? Hey, can you talk about that?" And I wish I could, but I'm not a PC player, so I really don't understand the full gravity of what those guys are going through, but it's a lot. And for Tekken 8 to not address that issue before adding this into the game, it makes sense why so many people are upset and frustrated and also getting clapped without reason. Interesting enough, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero did a similar update to their game at the same time Tekken 8 did it to their game. You know, both of these games are under Bandai Namco. They probably share a lot of tech, a lot of information. This is an example of that. I don't know who created this, but they both implemented it at the same time, and now they're both experiencing the same issues at the same time. So I'll read from the Dragon Ball Games tweet because we don't have a official Tekken post, but they're both doing the same thing, so we can apply this to Tekken as well, right? To ensure a fair and enjoyable gaming experience, we are strengthening timeout penalties against players who excessive disconnections or quitting rates during online matches. Regarding rage quits, we will adjust the points accordingly, increase points for disconnected side and decrease points for the side that disconnected. Please note that it may take some time for the points to be reflected. Additionally, we have confirmed that connection errors and online match issues have been improved. A content creator who was affected by this is Denny Maz. Bro, I just opened up the game, dog, and you can see your previous online battle was not completed properly. Please note a penalty will be imposed for disconnecting or defaulting a battle. After this, I uploaded a short basically highlighting that moment. From that, I learned that when you plug in Tekken 8, you lose roughly 1,000 to 1,500 points. Now, I don't know if this scales based on ranked. For Tekken God, 1,000 points is like kind of, it's not nothing, but it's like manageable. But if you go all the way back to orange ranks, 1,000 points is probably like a rank and a half. So maybe this will scale depending on how like a higher rank is and how many points you acquired already. But we know that basically it's a pretty chunky amount of points that you lose. And when we go back to Denny Ma, you can see that bro checked in on his characters a little bit later and said, "WTF going on, bruh? I'm just now seeing Harada snagged my rank." And you can see he was a God of Destruction Kazuya player, and now he's God Supreme Kazuya player. So he was hit hard by this plug prevention, but he wasn't even plugging. It seems like he had some kind of error, and now that error is impacting him heavily. But that's not it. It's impacting a lot of people. Here's a post on Reddit that's kind of making traction. It's been posted multiple times because a lot of people are relating to this. The post says, "Has rank gotten worse? I've only played rank once this month. After seeing this, I think I might stay away until they fix it." It's a tweet from someone, their name is Dandy is Cool. The first one at the bottom, Tekken 8 report. If the person plugs on loading screen, the game thinks you plugged and you lose points. If the person plugs on a loading screen, the game basically punishes both players because they don't know who did what. So that's a huge flaw right there. Anyone who's plugging will then just decide to plug on the main menu screen or the character select screen if they feel that the rank is too high or it's a bad character. So that's a very bad thing. Bro goes on to say, "Bro, we need to fix this as soon as possible. Harada, I've lost like 3,000 points today just to people plugging when it's load screen." Now, I'm happy that this is not me. I told myself that I'm not going into ranked for as long as Clive is the way that he is. I'm not saying that he's absolutely broken or anything. I'm just saying that the character is absolutely effective. Across Twitter, you will see so many people achieving God of Destruction with this guy in mere days. And that is not something that I want to go up against in ranked. All of those God of Destruction Clive mains will be in my queue and I would avoid it like a plague. But I'm happy that I'm doing doing that because here's something else that players are dealing with is this rank bug issue where you're being docked heavily, significantly, and the developers doesn't really have a handle on the situation. They're trying to target plugging, but so many players outside of that is also getting affected. But also another question that I have is how long would this last for? The developers took months to implement this, and now it's having huge consequences, and this is probably going to hurt the player count, right? So how quickly can they step in and resolve this issue? And what will they do to give people their points back? Because if I lost points by this, I would be so frustrated and I would definitely want some kind of like, I would want my rank back. It's a very weird situation. Players wanted them to do something, and them doing something is now creating more problems. And now players are wanting them to do something again. And it just seems like, I hate to say it, but it seems like a form of like great incompetence where they can't really get a hold over their own game. And every time they make an attempt to, they just create straight chaos.